All right, gang, let's talk about UUWs. There's always things that are gonna pop up without warning, and if you're smart, you're gonna set aside time to deal with those preemptively. Now, we're usually talking last-minute emergencies that pull you off your number one priority, but they still gotta get done because they're still really urgent and there's consequences attached to it. I call this type of unknown work UUW, which stands for unplanned, unwanted work. In the story in our book about my client Augie, her UUW was when her boss asked her to redo her entire presentation the day before it was due. Now, she was angry she had to do that, but when I asked her if she was surprised, she said, "Not really, my boss always makes requests like that." So it was something that she could have reasonably set aside time for, but she didn't. That means it should and could have been something that she would plan for. Now listen, UUWs happen to all of us in one way or another. So the right move, the smart move, is to preemptively block off chunks of your time in your calendar to deal with these unforeseen issues that are bound to come up. And I want you to label those UUW blocks in your calendar and think about it as flex time built into your week. Now, you don't know when you'll need that time, but you know that you will. Now, building in this flex time is a powerful way for you to plan for the unexpected, and it provides much needed lubrication to keep the gears of life from grinding you to bits. So is it worth it to block off time when you really have no idea how much time you'll need? Sure it is. In the scenario where you underestimate, you'll still thank your past self for every single extra minute that you bought yourself. And of course, if you overestimate, nothing bad happens. You can work ahead on your task list. There's no harm done. Listen, you can always find productive ways to use extra time if you find yourself with it, but you can't create extra time if you've already stuffed your calendar with commitments and appointments. It's a one-way street. So I suggest you start by giving yourself 1 hour of UUW time for each working day of the week. That's 5 hours a week for most people. Then just scale it up or scale it down depending on whether that felt like it was enough for you. And where possible, gang, I recommend placing these UUW blocks towards the end of your week or at the end of the day because that's where work tends to pile up, in those spots. Now, you might have the sort of job where you're running all day from crisis to crisis. That might be the very nature of your job. Maybe you're in healthcare, in IT, restaurant, legal aid, whatever it might be. Now, if your job is like this, you'll need to add even more flex time to your schedule. That helps ensure that you don't have the tarp is too small syndrome, meaning your existing time just isn't enough to fulfill all of your existing obligations. But what if you're finding that you're going week after week without having enough UUW time built in? Gang, you are probably like all of us. You're overcommitted. You don't have enough slack in the system. And if you don't have extra slack, then you have negative slack. So the first step is to overschedule UUW time into your calendar to see what that feels like and counteract that tendency to be overcommitted. And before you push back and say, Demir, you don't even understand. I have too much to do. That's never gonna happen. Just know you're always gonna get the same amount of work done. It's always the same amount of work. The difference is in how you're gonna feel about it at the end of the week. Shoving your calendar doesn't make more time. There's only so much time. What it does though is it virtually guarantees that if you have UUW, and we all do, you won't have any time to deal with it. You will be overcommitted and it'll blow up in your face and create a domino effect, a negative domino effect downstream. The process of using UUW, the process of pre-planning, is about radical honesty about your time inventory. When you're radically honest and you've got some flexibility built in, you can create a path to win the week each week, no matter the circumstances.